welcome. Today we have with us Nora Reynoso. She's a
Hello,
two-time,
hello.
hey, and Nora is a two-time natural body building world champion, and she has a great workout and a self-care regimen. And she's also uh, a multiple business owner, just a badass woman all around. And I'm so happy to have her on Canndid Boss Talk. How are you today,
Thank
Nora?
you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing very good under the circumstances. I'm taking everything for exactly for what it is. And I'm just taking this time with my family as an opportunity to spend more time with them and, kind of do my part as, we're going through this crisis together.
Right, that's just about all you can do, right?
Right, right. But I'm super happy to be here and, thank God for technology that we can still connect.
Yeah.
I was sharing before we started recording that the last public event that I had was for Serenity, and that was back in February, and that was before quarantine.
Yeah, it was. And we were also saying that this is expected. This happens time and time again. Within history, it happens over and over again. We overpopulate, we cross certain boundaries and certain thresholds, and the earth has a certain way of correcting itself every single time, right?
That's right. The difference today, I think, is that it's with these monitors that we have, we're going to be able to see a lot of things that in other times we weren't able to record or see. And we can see what's going on in the other side of the world. And, we can make our choices accordingly because it's attacked them before it attacked us. So again, because of being a two-time world champion and still being in the industry, I have a lot of friends around the world. So I've been able to connect with a lot of people and really see what's really going on out there. I have friends in Italy, and they're still in quarantine to this day, and they need an actual certificate to leave their house. They cannot leave
Wow.
yet. And so we realize we have so much liberty, but we really have to watch ourselves. They were having, we don't want to make the same mistakes where they say the curve is like this right now. Well, let's try to keep it that way and only go out for, necessities. I think, that's what we need to do a little bit about our part.
Right. Consider ourselves lucky at this point. And just,
Exactly. We took measures quick enough.
right. So with that being said, Nora, do you want to give yourself a little, give us a little introduction to the world of Nora Reynoso, and tell us a
Well,
little bit about your background and what you got going on now?
Well, I wear multiple hats, just like I feel that we should all do, right? We don't just do one thing. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I own a bail bond company for 20 years. I started being in the cannabis industry and aware of what cannabis was about 10 years ago. I grew up thinking, just like everybody around my age was thinking that it was a drug. And I grew up in Inglewood. So for me, it was like say no to drugs. And that to me was presented as a drug. So I always chose the opposite way. I wasn't part of a gang. I was always doing not the easy route, but I was just trying to go with my gut. But we were programmed that that was a drug. But my mother, on the other hand, my mother from tradition, from her parents and her grandparents and her ancestors, the plant was a medicine, like what we know today. And they would use it for many things. So she really wasn't the one putting that in my head, but growing up in the 70s, 80s, it was, you were programmed to believe that. So 10 years ago, my teenage son was smoking and I caught him and I flipped out just like everybody else, right? When you first think, your kid's doing something they're not supposed to. I quickly found out that it was actually helping him. My son was born with a bunch of things going on with him. So he had 24 surgeries.
Wow.
He's now fine and everything, but he used to be in the hospital all the time. He had pains, he had asthma. And then everything was gone. And it was because he was smoking the plant. And of
Mm.
course, again, when I first caught him smoking, I was like, no way. And then I started putting things together and I was like, wait a minute, he used to be in the hospital at least once a month.
Yeah.
So I started to research the plant and I started to, and this is, I'm telling you, this was about 10 years ago. So it was when people were already getting a prescription, right? Here in California, that you were able to use it as medicine. So I
Right.
started to look into it. And just like everything I do in life, when I go into something, I go in deep. And so I ended up growing it. I ended up growing it in my house. I ended up having, a couple of warehouses. So I really got into the industry of actually growing it and really knowing the background. And started to put things together that my mom would tell me. My mom would tell me all this history about the plant and how when baby Jesus was born, his diapers were made out of hemp, right? And that
Hemp
this plant
diapers.
was, yeah, his diapers were made out of hemp, and that if it was good enough for baby Jesus, it was good enough for us. So,
I would say so myself.
right, yeah, and then not only that, like I started to put everything together again when I start to focus on something, I just go all in, and that helped me with my bodybuilding career for sure. And that's why I was able to win 2 world championships after the age of 40.
Oh,
So that was a huge accomplishment because I remember when I started competing, somebody told me, they're like, there's no way you're going to become professional at that age. You just started. And I did it. It's just about taking the steps. So again, getting back to the cannabis, I just went all in and found out all our history here in the United States. Our Constitution is written on
on hemp
hemp
paper.
paper, you
Yeah.
know. And George Washington grew a lot of cannabis, and he encouraged everybody to have a plant, because with a plant you were able to have protein, you
Hmm.
could also have clothing, you can have make houses. It's one of the only materials that with time it keeps getting harder and harder instead of getting deteriorating. So if you build a home out of hemp, it would be stronger with time, right?
Mm.
And so I started to learn about all this and how it was encouraged for us to have plants at the beginning when our Constitution was written so that we could be independent. Um, and so again, I went through the rabbit hole, and this is again when it was first introduced here to California as medicine, and that we were able to do it legally, because we know that when they made it a class action or a class drug, right?
Yeah.
Was it in the
Cla-
50s or 60s? I think it was the 60s, right?
Yeah, when it became like a scheduled
Right.
drug,
And it was like considered just like cocaine or something else.
heroin, it's on the same track as
Exactly. And
yeah.
and I mean, think about it. I mean, why would they do that? Obviously they did it because they wanted to take the control of our independence, right? Because with that plant we can do everything. That was the idea.
It was actually textbook racism.
Yeah.
After the Nixon tapes were finally released, he said directly it was to stop the Jews, the Jews and the blacks. He didn't say those words. He said the N word and the K's, and he said because they were protesting the war, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah, they
Because we were woke.
yeah
They were like, no, 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 you cannot do this.
yeah.
We were messing them up.
You smoke a joint and it expands your mind.
Exactly. And they didn't
Smoke a
want
joint, you
that. They
ask
didn't want to
questions.
give the people the control to realize that we have everything we need within ourselves. And this
Exactly.
plant, it's given to us just like all the other herbs that God gave us, right? And it's to heal his people. And even in
Medicine.
Revelations, I do a lot of videos, I do a lot of YouTubing, and it's just to help people. I also wrote a book called Rescuing Myself, and it's based
Yeah,
on rescuing yourself
I have a
based on
copy.
your, yes, saving yourself from the inside out. So what you put in your body. So what we put in our body is super, super important in how we take care of our body. And our body is our temple, because that's where God lives. God lives inside of every living thing, right? So if we take care of our temple, then we're taking care of God. We're respecting God. right? And that's how I look at it. And it says in the Bible that in Revelations that the herbs, the leaves will heal his nations, right? And what is that telling you? When you have an alkaline diet, when you have a diet full of greens in your life,
Right.
then you have an alkaline life, and your alkaline is good. The acid is the negative.
Mm.
So, for example, right now, the coronavirus, what's going on with that? It is attacking acidic bodies, sick bodies, people that have a lot of acid. It attaches to it, and then it starts to reproduce. If you have an alkaline diet, then the virus cannot reproduce.
Why
And
don't more
so,
people on a broader basis accept or adhere to an alkaline diet? Like I've been, I'm a hippie, so it's a little
mhm.
different for me. I've been alkalized for quite a while now. I was actually turned on to Dr. Sebi videos.
Oh
Um,
yeah, before he
yeah,
was
a while
killed,
back.
because I
Yeah,
still think he was killed.
I know. Like, we can go down the rabbit hole there with the
I know. Let's not
conspiracy.
even go there because we would be on here for 5 hours. But I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
How much time you got? How much time? No, no, but I was actually turned on to Dr. Sebi by a close friend of mine. Started following that diet because I have gout, and
Okay,
I have
and
gout,
that's all
like high
acid.
uric acid levels,
Hmm.
and my kidneys can no longer break down uric acid, so it crystallizes in my joints. But
Hmm.
I only drink alkaline water here at the house. We every weekend we fill up like 8 gallons of alkaline water at our local, I guess, water dispensary, if you want to call it
Hmm.
that. And yeah, we're very, very alkalized in our home, and I really haven't had a flare up, knock on wood. I haven't
Yep.
had a flare up in quite a long time. Um, so it's helped me out of necessity, but it really shouldn't have to be necessity, right? We should be able
Well,
to arm ourselves with what's needed to not even go down that route. Correct?
that's definitely what happens to most of us. I mean, I share so much in my book. That's the same thing that happened to me. I went through a lot of stuff. I, like I try to say, life happened, right? I
Hmm.
had some loss. I was going through some depression. I gained a bunch of weight. I didn't feel right anymore. And that's when I started to do something. But like you said, that's not when we have to do something. We can do is start to change our lifestyle at any moment. We don't have to wait to start feeling like crap. You know,
Right.
we put all this on our in our body. We do all this trauma to our body. We don't sleep right. We don't eat right. And then we think, oh, okay, wait a minute. I'm 40 years old now and I feel like crap. I don't feel like I was like when I was 25. Well, you did all this damage to your body. Now, how are you going to repair it?
Right.
The beauty of our body is that we're living cells. So we're
Mhm.
constantly changing and we can change everything. And in an alkaline body, no disease can live. And
Was
I'll
that
give you a little,
it was like a 30, was it 32 days your body like completely reinvents itself, like it complete
yes,
all
right
the cells
around
are
20,
regenerated?
30. Yes, everything generates. And your body works so quickly. So one of the easiest ways to alkaline your body and get everything back into focus right away is intermittent fasting. And so intermittent fasting, I mean, and I always go back to history and I go back to the Bible because I need to see where we're coming from, right? I got to look back to see where I'm going. I have to know where I'm coming from. So again, I go back to the Bible over and over. It talks about fasting. So now we look at science. What does fasting do to our body? So if we fast a minimum of 16 hours between the 14th and 16th hours, so anything after 14 hours, your body starts to detox.
Hmm.
Anytime before that, all it's doing, your liver's processing everything that's in your stomach. So if your
So
stomach is full, it's constantly just processing food and it doesn't have time to process the toxins in your body.
right. Yeah, no, I've heard intermittent fasting like works wonders on people.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of my mentors, one of my life and business mentors, Roger Obando, he just had a book come out. He was the CTO of my company that went public, and he lost a lot of weight, like very, very rapidly, and felt more energized than ever
Mm-hmm.
before. And it really, really prompted him to have true life changes, total lifestyle changes. So that just goes to show a lot of what we do, a lot of how we feel, all is rooted in diet, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it's 80% diet. And again, getting back with the fasting itself. So, yes, it helps you lose weight, but more than anything, it's getting rid of toxins. So, anything over 14 hours of not eating, and I recommend 16 hours. I put it in my book.
Mhm.
I published the book a year ago. And everything that I put in the book is because I do it myself. So, I've been almost 3 years fasting every day, and I just pick one day a week, and usually it's Sunday because I have brunch here with my kids. So Sunday is the day that I eat all day, but all the other days I do fasting. So for example, if I finish eating at 8 o'clock at night, the next day I don't eat till 12, and that
Yep.
would be 16 hours. So what happens in between 14 and 16 hours, your stomach is empty. There's no food in there. So then what your body does, it starts to pull all the toxins, including the heavy metals that are in your brain. So
Hmm.
heavy metals are stored in your brain from fluoride in your water, fluoride in your toothpaste, and other chemicals or other processed foods that you eat, right? So
So
those heavy
fluoride is
metals,
actually an acid.
correct, and that gets stored in your brain, and that's the number one cause of Alzheimer's. So you can get rid of it by doing the intermittent fasting. So if your liver doesn't have any more food to process, now it's going to pull all that negative stuff that your body does not need. And then another way that you can get rid of toxins, especially the heavy metals, is apple cider vinegar. To incorporate apple cider vinegar in your diet every single day, and it really helps you. So I really recommend that for people that are already having issues with mental, like older
Hmm.
people. It's very beneficial to start taking apple cider vinegar.
But isn't vinegar, isn't that an acid as well?
No, it actually even helps you with reflux. It's so weird. We think about, oh, lemon is acid or lime is acid. That's not really acid. Acid is the negative things that are eating up our cells.
Hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be, a lime. A lime is not acidic as what we think. It's actually the negative, like the fluoride in the
Hmm.
water, right? That acidic. So our cells are perfectly little round cells, right? The good ones.
Hmm.
And they're all in a rotation, okay? And when we have acid in our body from atmosphere, or if we get angry, when we get angry, we produce acid, or if we have acidic food, right? Something like high sugar, then that acid starts to make holes in the cells.
Hmm.
And so those cells fall out of rotation and they float. And those floaters become disease. They become cancer. They become diabetes. They become gout. They
Right.
become all of that stuff. But the beauty of our body is that we can change that. You know how they say, oh, if you eat berries, it's anti-cancer cells.
Yeah.
It kills cancer cells. Well, what it does, antioxidants, it covers those little holes. When you're eating those cherries or berries, it
Yeah.
covers the holes, and
Yeah,
then now
cherries are
those
good for
cells go
me.
back
Yeah.
into rotation. And now
For,
you cured yourself.
yeah. With gout, it's cherries and blueberries are good for
Yep.
us. Hmm.
Cherries are amazing. I mean, when they're in season, every night I have a little bowl because it has natural melatonin, so you get
Hmm.
to rest very well at night.
Got it.
Along with
So,
my CBD, I do CBD every
nice.
night.
Nice. And let's talk about the CBD. Tell us what you got going on in the world of the wonderful world of cannabidiol.
Okay, well, CBD, I recommend. I work with a lot of people, a lot of different companies
Hmm.
that I use myself. So I work with them to try to get it to the consumer. So I highly recommend CBD to everybody. And if you haven't tried any THC, I just definitely direct them to CBD because I know what it's doing. It's going to repair.
Right.
I'll give you a quick example. My brother-in-law, he's in his 70s and he was about to get knee surgery replacement. And I told my sister, I said, you know what, try these. There were 25 milligram pills. And I said, you
Hmm.
know what, have him take 2 every night. Let's see how he feels. Not even 2 weeks later, he called off his surgery.
Wow.
And that was about a year and a half ago.
Wow. That's
So
what I call
CBD is
quick
amazing. I
turnaround.
take it every night, just it kind of just to stay healthy. When I was competing, I was taking a lot more, and I was definitely doing sativa when I was doing my workouts,
Yeah.
and I was definitely doing a lot of CBD, about 50 milligrams to 75 milligrams every day, and that it recovers your muscles, so your
Right.
muscles you actually grow more. So it repairs you. So then your muscles grow.
Yeah.
It
Like
repairs the tissue.
I really got into that heavy when I was in CrossFit. I became a really competitive CrossFit athlete, and it really like doubled and tripled my recovery time. It came so much quicker when I really got into CBD early, and then with the recovery time, I'd probably do indica like right after workouts because I know it like
Mm-hmm.
put me down because a lot of times I would
Mm-hmm.
work out like 2-3 times a day, and I'd just be pumped like at night, but I need to
Right.
rest. So indica could really like put me down, allowed me to rejuvenate, and I'd be feeling refreshed in the morning. But
Right.
yeah,
And
like you said,
without
just
feeling any grogginess or any
yeah,
of that.
yeah, that's how I really, really got into on CBD, on the CBD side, recovery all day. It just like helped me recover so much quicker. I felt so much lighter on my feet. And I didn't really feel like groggy, like a lot of the pills I used to take. And I didn't feel, I didn't really have the crash like I did with a lot of
Right.
those.
Like that like melatonin, I
Yeah.
could not do it because the next day I would feel super groggy. With
Hmm.
CBD, it's so different. And being part of the Natural Bodybuilding Association, because there's different associations that are out there, professional
Hmm.
organizations, and I'm part of the largest natural bodybuilding organization. It's called the IMBA, and
Tell
so
us a little bit about that.
we can't do any stimulants whatsoever. So no steroids. We get tested and we get WADA tested. So this is the same organization that does the testing for the Olympic
Right.
athletes. So we're Olympic level. And so being natural, you get tested, no stimulants, nothing that's going to have any growth effects to it. So CBD is accepted and THC. And because it's
That's
natural.
awesome.
Yes, it is amazing. And they've done studies with the CBD on how it helps you repair the tissues. And of course, when you're working out, when you're doing especially heavy weights, you're tearing up that tissue, right? So
Hmm.
the repair is crucial. When you repair it, then that's when it starts to grow. And we also know that when we're sleeping is when we're actually growing and repairing, and it is
Hmm.
the most important time. So what do we do if we can take something to relax us, like CBD?
Right.
Then there you go. I mean, they've done interviews on Arnold. He used to be very big in bodybuilding back in the 70s. And he always said, no secret, but, his little secret was
The
cannabis,
recovery.
because then you can also eat 7 times a day. And, when you're
Yeah.
competing, you're eating 6, 7 times a day. I want to show you, since we're on the bodybuilding, I'm going to show you my little trophies here.
Let's
So
check
I
it
have
out. Yes.
just a couple,
Oh my. Look at that
just a
hardware.
couple. There's actual
Give us a
21.
tour. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are the 2 world medals up here. That one's for
Jeez.
Team USA when I represented. And so, yeah, it was a 7-year career there.
So like
And
after a few big victories, they just like put your body that they cast your body and they put you on the trophy.
no, oh, that, no. Thank you. No, well, that was definitely what I was trying to replicate. Proportion, and again, because it's natural, it's
Hmm.
nothing like what you think. Oh my gosh, you're a bodybuilder. You see how tiny I am. I never weighed more than 118, and I was in the
But
bikini.
you're so fit. Like I don't really see. I don't know. I guess we're diving into the subjective category here, but I never really saw the allure of taking a bunch of like steroids or any enhancers like that. Even when I was very, very self-conscious and very, very body conscious, I'd say like in my mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm blessed too. That's why I said it's more of a subjective conversation, because I'm blessed. Like I can get really big really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And as a collegiate athlete, when I played football, I was actually like oversized for my position. So
Mhm.
with me, it was more of a battle staying small than to be, I guess, get bigger and bigger and bigger. But if I wanted to, I could. So I never really thought that I would have a real advantage. I thought it would like tear my body apart. Right.
Well, you have to, everything is, depending what's your goal, right? And
Mhm.
again, when you're doing things natural, the only way it's going to grow is with time. And we're
Right.
talking about years. It's not going to grow when you're working out, everything starts getting tighter and smaller and smaller. Everybody
Right.
thinks it's going to be like this. Well, the people that you see in these crazy magazines, that's because they're using steroids.
And
That
they
was
don't talk about the
also
injuries either, those guys.
right. And now you can see it. That's why I always say you got to look at history, where we're coming from. And
Hmm.
that's what we're able to see now. We're able to see all these documentaries, right, on Netflix, and how they can't even walk, or their liver's so messed up from all the drugs that they took. And these are things that it was known, it was steroids being sold in the gyms. And now
Right.
we can see the effects. Do we want that? Or for what this organization stands for is for the longevity, right? And that's what I stand for, because it's not about let me get there quickly. It's about I want to maintain and be there. I've been retired since 2017,
Hmm.
and I've maintained. Why? Because it's a lifestyle. And the only reason I retired was because I wanted to bring this book to help other people, because I went through it. And you don't have to go through it to learn. You can learn from other people. And so everything that I learned with myself, I put it in a book, and it was about trying to, share that message that we've been eating trash for so long.
Right.
It's not the food that our grandparents used to eat.
No, at
It's
all.
not the same chicken that your grandparents used to eat. This chicken now that we're eating, they're full grown in 16 weeks. They're full of hormones. They're having heart attacks because they're growing so fast. Their heart grows, right? And then
Right.
we're eating that. So I am plant based, and it doesn't mean that it's for everybody, but I do share all that in the book, because again, I just want to share what I see, what I've lived. And again, is sharing these stories that we're not eating the same food. I'm not against you eating meat, but I'm against you eating all these other chemicals that they're putting in your food. And that's why I call it trash. And it's just opening up our eyes and really taking sense of what's going on. I mean, all this, we talked about this at the beginning, that life has a way of fixing itself. We're the cancer, right? We're doing all this. We're overeating. Now here in California, they're putting a little thing where you can only buy two things of meat per home, right? Because how many times you see people at the market and their entire cart is full of meat, right?
Right.
There's no vegetables. Everything's frozen. And it's like right now, when this crisis started, uh, there was all the fresh produce was there, all of it. We
And,
never had a shortage with that.
yeah, I mean, because there's so much propaganda out there telling us eat more and more and more meat, eat more and more and more and more cheese, and like how do we get past that? I think this is a huge moment for us. Um,
This is
uh,
this is a wake up call for all of us. This is a reset. We cannot come out of this without being woken up. You want to make something for. I mean, I eat rice and beans. I'm cool with rice and beans and vegetables, and there's so many different recipes you can find. And again, I share
are you
so
full
much.
vegan?
I
Are
am
you vegan?
vegetarian. I don't say
Vegetarian?
vegan because I have a car that has leather in it, and it's like I can't be fake. I'm not vegan, but I'm plant based, and I just
Okay,
don't eat animals, right? Because
got
I
it.
don't, and I just say I try to live karma free, so I don't want to take a life to feed mine, right?
Makes
So,
sense.
but that's just my thought, and I also know that every blood type does differently with different foods. So, for example, I'm blood type A positive. And so I do better with fruits, vegetables as a plant-based diet, but everybody's different. So
That's
again, all this
interesting.
stuff
I
I
didn't
share.
even. Yeah, I didn't know that. So
Yes.
that's very interesting.
Yeah, you should look it up.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
So there's four different blood types, five different blood types. So A positive, A negative, B, and then there's O. And each one is different. So we're from different parts of the world, and what our blood type is used to and does better digesting everything. So A positive is fruits, vegetables, and greens. And so I believe O positive, O is the one that high protein. So a lot of meat, they do better. So maybe they have Scandinavian in them. I don't know. And they've been raised to eat so much meat. But every blood type, and you can Google it, and every blood type has what they recommend, and they do better. And I ended up being plant-based. And again, I don't want to give out too much because I share a lot in the book, but
Yeah.
I ended up getting sick. And this is when I was at the top of my bodybuilding career, but I was consuming 200 grams of meat a day. And so that was a lot of acid, and my liver just stopped, and I was on morphine for 12 hours, and my body just shut down. So
I've been there, and it's not fun.
No. And I said, okay, now what am I doing? I mean, I look great. I'm winning all these trophies. What's going on? I was killing myself. And then that's when I started to research everything. And my daughter ended up going to herbologist school, and she was also telling me things. And again, I was going back to my mother's traditions. You know, my mother was a lot older than I was. She had me when she was 40. So her traditions were these long traditions, and she would make everything from scratch, and she would tell me, and all her remedies, now I share them on YouTube and Instagram, but all these remedies that she was taught, they all came back, and I was like, yeah, I remember my mom used to do this, and I need to do, that's to get rid of the toxins,
Right.
For example, one thing that she used to do was if you have the measles, or if you have a high fever, you get tomatoes and you fry them, and you let them cool off a little bit, and you put them at the bottom of your feet, and you wrap them on your feet, and it pulls all the toxins. So your fever will go away. If you have the measles, everything, it starts to pull everything out. And now it's scientifically proven that that's what it does. So back in the days, I used to be like, Mom, what are you doing?
Right.
You're making me into what here?
It's funny how we seem to let technology and new formulations to make things more efficient get in the way of Earth's gifts, right?
Exactly. And that's definitely what, again, I feel this whole thing that's happening with the coronavirus, there is no mistake. Everything's happening, everything, to bring us back to the basics. And we have to be basic about this, because we can fight the coronavirus, therapeutically. If we go back to, if our body's alkaline, we can fight it,
But we're not disciplined enough as a human race to do that.
The majority of people are eating, and here, I grew up in Inglewood, so I know what some of my African American friends, their diet was, right? And you guys were programmed just like how we were programmed on what to eat, because you can't tell me that you were eating a bunch of fried food in Africa, because you weren't doing that. You were eating stuff from brown, my people, my Indian people, right? What were they doing? But what happens, we start to get programmed to start eating badly. I see people giving Cheetos to newborns. They're like 6 months old and they're sucking on a Cheeto. Well, that's a bunch of chemicals, right? So what is that baby right now? The virus is attacking the African American community a lot, right? Why? Because of their diets. Their diets, they were saying in China, they were saying, oh, it's not hitting children, because their problem, their acidic was coming from the cigarette. So that's what was attacking them. Here, it's our bad eating. Because we have food here that in Europe, it's banned.
Oh, I know. That's a shame.
It
right?
is.
We put processed sugar, we put sugars and like all different kinds of chemicals, fillers, and they have no purpose either. Like some foods it's just perplexing. Like sometimes, like, why is this chemical in there when it really doesn't have to be?
What do they want?
There?
They don't want us healthy. They don't want us thinking, right? Why do they put fluoride in the water? They know heavy metals get stored in your brain, and then you can't think for yourself. And when I say you can't think for yourself, you're so polluted, right? With all this non-organic stuff in your body that you don't even know how to sense what's right and wrong anymore.
Right. So,
Right?
so how do you, what is the process?
The process is
Process
intermittent fasting.
yeah,
That's
intermittent
the
fasting.
fastest way. The
Okay.
fastest way. I have friends, and I'm telling you, people from all walks of life. And I'll give you one quick example. A girl that I grew up with, but she lives in LA somewhere. I live over here in Inland Empire. She contacted me on Instagram and she said, Nora, I need help. My blood sugar's been at 200 and something for the last 2 years. I'm injecting myself for insulin, all this stuff. So I said, okay, start with intermittent fasting. One day, the very first day, her sugar went down to 97. And I have the screenshots that she took pictures. Then it went to 92 and then finally 87. Within 3 days, she was normal. Why? Because your body is that beautiful. I mean, your body can do such amazing things so quickly, but we need to stop just polluting it and giving it all this crap, right? So we need to give our body a break. We need to let it process all the junk, because your stomach is the size of your fist. But if we're giving it more food and more food, it starts to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, right? But this is the size of your stomach. Mm-hmm. How much can you fit in there at a time? But we're still programmed to these big meals, right? Like super.
So we're constantly putting it under stress then, huh?
Exactly. And I'll give you another example on food so people can grasp like what's organic and what's not. So Cheerios. Cheerios is one of the things that everybody gives their kids as soon as they can eat something. Well, Cheerios has a product called Olean. It's a carb that has 0 calories, and we're thinking, oh, it's 0 calories, it must be good. Well, it's genetically engineered. So guess what happens? Your body accepts it like food because it has some wheat in it, right? So it accepts it like food, but then when it gets into our stomach, it doesn't know what to do with it. So it starts to become cellulite. It starts to become all this other crap that your body doesn't know what to do with it. People back in the days, did they have cellulite? Heck no. Whatever they ate, they used as energy, and it was organic food.
Yeah, so people are just like getting their kids started on that chemical train. Yeah.
And it's genetically changing us completely, because we're not, I don't even want to get into the vaccine part of it, but I mean, they're introducing things that is not organic to us, or if it is organic because we're accepting it, it's not for our body, right? So if the coronavirus, they want to inject you the coronavirus, it comes from supposedly from a bat, right? So then now they're introducing it to you. It's not organic to us, but the way they process vaccines, they put particles of abortions, fetuses in the shot so that the body can accept it as an organic part, because then your body wouldn't accept it. So, I mean, think about all the crap that they do in order for us to accept it. So again, the Cheerios has Olean, that was a man-made product, but then it's mixed in with wheat and flour and all this other stuff.
It needs a vehicle to get inside of your cells, right?
Exactly.
Interesting. Yeah. The older that I get and the more health problems that I've encountered, it all comes back to diet for me. The less meat that I ate, the better I feel. My skin is starting to clear up as a real adult in my mid 30s because, I cut almost all of the dairy out of my diet as well.
Oh, your skin reacts. Your skin, I mean, everybody always, your skin's so nice. Well, it's from the inside out. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm 48. And they're like, your skin looks so good. Your hair is so long. Your lashes. Well, it is what you put. So if I put a bunch of living things in my body, right? Because I'm eating fruits and vegetables, right? They were once alive and they still have all these nutrients. Of course, I'm going to glow, right? So you want to look at food for nutritional value, not for calories. So here in the United States, we're programmed. What's the little pyramid that they show? Right? Calories, 2,000 calories.
Such bullshit.
And what is it?
Yeah.
That's not what we need.
At all. And
no, I mean, I give one quick example, orange juice.
Yeah.
Orange juice is super high. A natural orange juice is could be 300 calories, one little glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can eat, let's say, a protein bar that has 100 grams of, 100 calories. I rather have the orange juice because it's going to have minerals. It's going to have vitamins that my body needs. Who cares about calories? No one cares about calories.
You should not be.
They're
I'm not a
programmed.
believer in calorie counting.
No calories.
Any of
I
that crap.
haven't counted calories in a very long time. And it is about, what you put in your body, and start thinking about, okay, what is it? What purpose does this food going to do? What
Right.
if I eat Cheetos? What kind of energy am I going to have?
Yeah.
Nothing.
You might have a rush of chemical
Yeah, you're going to
imbalance, and you're
feel
going to crash really bad.
tired.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to feel tired, and you're not going to feel right, and you're going to feel antsy because now you have all these chemicals in your body, right? Your body doesn't know what to do with it. You can't even think right. You don't even know what to do. So
Right.
again, intermittent fasting, cannabis, because all our herbs that are from the ground is medicine. All our herbs. You got to remember back in the days, and we're not talking about too long ago, people would go on ships from one side of the world to the other just to get spices.
Right.
Right.
And
now we have it at
crazy.
our tip of our hands.
Yeah. We need to use technology for good. So the herbs, the diet, and that's what I've really gotten into as I've gotten older. So my body is broken down. I come back and I snap right back every single time, and it's almost always through diet.
It is
and
80%. It's what you put in. I mean, we have to start looking at things purposeful, right? We have a purpose. And in order for us to find our purpose, we need to start eating for purpose, right? We can't just start, we're depressed or whatever. Let's just feed the body. That's why intermittent fasting is the easiest thing, because you're not going to eat for 16 hours. You just have a window. So now in that window, you eat whatever you want. You want to eat whatever you want. I don't care what you eat, but just have a window. Let your body repair itself. Let it do what it was supposed to do. So I have this book, Rescuing Myself, right? And this was just kind of an introduction of, how I got to
such a beautiful story too.
Right?
Such a beautiful story.
And the next book that I'm writing, and I'm just the messenger. God's using me just like God's using you right now to do this interview, and how he uses us for his purpose, right? And the next one is called Recipes for Life, because in the beginning of the Bible, it shows us what to do with our food. Besides creation in the New Testimony, it tells you you're not supposed to, you're supposed to throw out your food at night, because they didn't have refrigerators. So they didn't want us to eat bacteria, because bacteria is negative. It's acidic, right? So they taught us that back then. Well, now I feel that there's a need to have these recipes for life again. What do we need to know? What do we need to remember? Because all these traditions that we lost, the herbs, the medicine, we need to bring that back. But then now we need to know, well, why did fasting work back in the days? Why was it in the Bible so much? Why was it something about renewal? It was always something about renewal and finding your true self. Well, it's now science and spiritual and religious, whatever you want to call it, has merged to let you see the light, to let you see why intermittent fasting works. So now, again, this new book that I'm bringing on is just kind of bringing everything together and the science behind it. But again, we get it from tradition. I get all this stuff from my mom, and my family comes from all the way, we have Jewish blood. So we come long lineage of, of the teachings of Christ. And that's what I want to bring to the table, just to kind of remind people, and the number one thing is cannabis, again, because with that little plant, with what God gave us, we could be independent. We can use what God gave us, to really heal the body and really find our true purpose. And until we do that, until we cleanse the body, the temple, we're not going to find our purpose.
No, not at all. And it's crazy. We have this super magical, important, and effective plant that has been around forever. And you look at every ancient civilization, be it all the way back to Mesopotamia, right? They find cannabis. They find at the very least hemp in every single one of their tombs. They
Oh yeah.
find traces of hemp. They found pipes, like all different kinds of stuff, always in their tombs. And it's crazy. Like we're the first iteration throughout history where it's been banned for
Well,
quite some
it's
time, and then you see this
again,
huge spike in
you know,
cancer.
we go back to the same thing. It's all about control. They tried to control us, and so they took our medicine away. They took, what did they do? They took our medicine away, and what did they introduce? Narcotics. They introduced prescriptions that have these crazy side effects. The number one side effect from these mental medications is suicide. Right. And so these evil people, because that's what they are, DJ Khaled calls them they now have names, we can call them Bill Gates, you can call them whatever they are, but it's, the CDC, they want a control issue, right? And how are they controlling the mass? By taking away what's going to make them independent and their own sanity, right? And they introduced psych meds that are producing people to commit suicide. In the Bible, if you commit suicide, you're not going to heaven. So of course we go back down to all of this, and I don't want to get into that rabbit hole, but I share a lot on Instagram.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Talk
about that a different time.
But
I'd love to.
It's all connected. That.
Everything.
Everything.
And I think
this is the time to get on board
and to reset.
Stay connected, because the only way we are going to be able to rise is if we stick together as a unity, because we, the people, do have the power. There's very few of them. The 1% is nothing, but we need to see things for what they are. We're very blessed that we're here in the United States and that we have Trump, and Trump believes in our rights, and he's fighting with a whole heck of people. Let me tell you, he's fighting with a whole heck of people trying to get us our rights back. And I encourage
don't know about that.
To see out of the shadows.
No, I don't know about. I don't know about all that.
And then I don't want to get political here, but
we don't need to get. We'll hold off on the politics.
No, we want to hold off on that, but we want to definitely open up our eyes, and just as individuals make the best decision for ourselves. And the only way we're going to do that is if we get right with ourselves, and that's going to start with nutrition. And cannabis is alkaline, so of course, cannabis. Got my little pen right here.
Yeah. I've got all kinds of stuff around me, as you can see.
Yes, I see.
No. We can definitely go down that political rabbit hole on a different track. I would love to have some back and forth banter.
You know what? The only thing is, what I say is, right now we're still where someone doesn't want to impose the vaccine on us, and someone doesn't want to impose the digital chip. In a lot of parts of the world right now, they're already getting ready to impose the digital chip in Romania and Italy. And, that goes against everything. If you're, believe in the Bible, you don't want that.
I would be open to entertain that conversation once it becomes like in action here. But right now it's not in action. And right now I think that the best thing for us to do is to make sure that we are up on our resources. We
exactly.
Keep each other in check, and we fact check everything
staying connected,
that is done out there. So we make sure that we're putting out good information, make sure we're putting arming people with the information needed to make the right decisions on their own.
And again, the number one thing is, especially going through this crisis, we want to keep our body alkaline. Cannabis can do that. CBD, I highly recommend it. And definitely intermittent fasting is one of the easiest ways to do it. And just really think about what you're putting in your body. Drink a lot of green tea, drink a lot of any tea without sugar is amazing for you. Again, herbs are medicine, and we want to really keep our body alkaline, especially in these times.
Exactly.
And make it a habit. I'm drinking my tea right now. I'm drinking green tea, and I know a lot of people right now in quarantine, they're drinking, and I'm like, no, put down the alcohol. Alcohol will lower your immune system, and we want to boost it up.
Yeah, it makes you more susceptible
Yes. So
to,
no.
yeah, I drink a lot of, yeah, I don't even, I know the recommendation was like 8 full glasses of water or something like that. I just keep on
Yeah.
drinking. I drink as
Just
much
keep drinking
uh,
water. Yeah. We're
as possible.
70% water, right? So we need to keep everything flowing. So that's just definitely, we want to keep our temple good.
Right. So leafy greens,
Yes.
alkalized diet, and intermittent
Intermittent
fasting,
fasting.
and
Yep.
smoke a lot of weed.
Yes, definitely. And again, I share a lot of videos on a weekly basis, alkaline recipes,
Mhm.
and I'm out there, just trying to do my part and help the world. So you guys can find me on Instagram, on YouTube, and
Yeah.
Rescuing Myself is available on Amazon, and it's also available en español porque soy mexicana,
Sí, 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 sí,
rescatándome
sí.
en español.
Sí, soy de Panamá.
Ajá, pues
Uh,
hablamos español. Tenemos que ayudar a la gente.
hey.
You're
uh,
like, what?
uh, thank you so very much. We're gonna find you on and what is your handle on Instagram? What are
Instagram
some of
is
your media
Nora
handles?
Reynoso, Reynoso, and on YouTube it's Nora Veronica Reynoso. And again,
Love
I
it.
try to share weekly videos, 2 or 3 a week,
Mhm.
just healthy tips that we can do while we're in quarantine tips and tools just to have a better outlook in life.
Excellent. We definitely got to have you on Wellness Wednesdays for my CBD Sundays Instagram. We do Wellness Wednesdays, and we always highlight local practitioners, fitness gurus, and everything. Just like getting the word out about staying healthy in the
Would
name of
love to.
in the name of CBD as well. I think when we first met, it was right when the shutdown happened, and you never really got
Yeah,
to enjoy a CBD Sundays. But we will be reinventing ourselves digitally as we have in these other
definitely.
tracks as well. So
Again, we got to use this technology for good use and stick
yes,
together as a community. Reach out to your neighbors, your family, and stay connected.
much love to you. Thank you so very much for coming on. And please, 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 Nora's books are amazing. She's just such a positive person, such a beam of sunlight in these dark times. So
Thank
just
you.
remember, you always have positive people out there. Keep positive people around you that uplift you
Yeah.
spiritually, physically, mentally, socially. All that stuff comes together, and it's all about staying together in this cipher of life, right?
Amen. God bless you guys all.
Bless you too.
Sending you guys a lot of love, and let's stay connected.
Yes, absolutely.